Fishing Fanatics. J&M Fish from here, bringing you another tutorial, this time on water testing. Now, coming up shortly, you'll see how to perform the water test, why I prefer one way versus another, and kind of just how it all works out. Now, it's a little bit of a complicated test. It is the API Freshwater Master Kit. The reason why I like to use this is explained in the test itself, so make sure you stay tuned. Enjoy. So here's the basic setup of the test. This is the API Master Freshwater Kit. This is what I use, sometimes once a week, sometimes twice, or once every 2 weeks, depending on how often it's needed. As you can see, it's a pretty simple kit. It comes with a plastic container that it's in currently, just like that. It also comes with a book and a color chart that lets you know exactly where you're at with all of the different tests. And as you can see, there's quite a few bottles. And I'm trying to do this where everybody can see as well as possible. But if you look, there's 4 vials and then there's 7 bottles, which seems a little strange, right? I'll explain why that is in a second here. But to save a little bit of time, I already went ahead and filled up all 4 vials with water. As you can see, they are marked. There's a white line in them, which you can see. And the key here, when you're filling it up, let it focus, which it might not focus real well, but there's a white line, and you fill the water mark up to that line. Now the water itself will be concave, which means it's going to have a curve to it. You want to make sure that the very bottom of that curve is touching the line. So the sides are going to be a little bit higher, and that's fine, but the bottom of that little concave circle needs to make sure it's touching the white line. Okay? Now there's a couple of different tests in here. There is one for pH. There's one which you can see it's a pH test, and it tells right on the bottle, pH test solutions. You can see on the color chart here, for pH, there's 2 different things. There's pH, and then there's high range pH. So if you do this test and you wait, and it pops up and it's 7.6, you can then turn around and do the high pH test to see exactly where you fall at. As you can see, it's marked 7.4 to 7.8 to 8.0 to 8.2 to 8.4 to 8.5, depending on how hard your water is. But it goes as low as 6.0. So if you're in the yellow, chances are it's either at 6.0 or lower than 6.0, but there is no low range pH test on this one. So this is the high range, or the regular pH test. And then there's another bottle in here for the high range pH test, as you can see. It also has an ammonia test. Now for this, there's 2 bottles because there's 2 parts. You're going to follow part 1. Once you're completed with part 1, you'll then move on to part 2, which we will do the pH test, as well as the ammonia test. If you flip it around, you'll see that there's more. There is now a nitrate test, which again is 2 parts. That's part 1. That's part 2. And it also comes with a nitrite test. Okay. Again, on the color chart, everything is listed. You can see ammonia is on there, here, nitrites, nitrates, and this will give you your range. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside, and like I said, I already pre-filled these vials just to save a little bit of time. Once you've done it a bunch of times, you're going to get used to exactly how much water you need, and you'll fill them up pretty quickly. But I don't want to take all day doing this for you guys. My videos tend to be a little long. So you remove the cap, and we're going to start off and do the normal pH test. Now, if you look at the bottle, it says directly on there, test solutions. It'll focus. I have faith in you. You can do it. Too much other stuff in the background. But it says directly on there, for the pH test, add 3 drops. So what you do is you open the top, and be careful not to get these chemicals on your hands, guys, because they are chemicals. They are contaminants. And if you do manage to get them on your eyes or anywhere else, please make sure that you follow the instructions to properly take care of that. But anyways, tip the bottle upside down. It says right on there 3 drops. We've already added 1. Squeeze is 2. Squeeze is 3. And I like to do it that way where the bottle is completely upside down, simply because that way it doesn't touch the sides, it doesn't run down, and it doesn't cause a bigger mess. And you're making sure that your test is completely accurate. So we'll just flip this upside down a couple times, and we'll let that sit for a minute. Recap the bottle, and we'll put that back in. We'll set this aside for just a second. Now we're going to repeat the same exact thing for the ammonia test. Now with the ammonia test, like I said before, there's 2 parts. So make sure that you read the directions and you follow carefully. But here's the ammonia test, and this is part 1. And it says directly on there, add 8 drops. So again, we're going to open the bottle up, grab the vial, tip the bottle upside down, and we'll add 8 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and cap the bottle back up. Now for this portion of it, you'll take it, you'll shake it a couple times just to make sure it's well mixed. Pull the cap back off. Now we're going to go to part 2, which you can see ammonia part 2. And again, it's 8 drops, so we'll take the top off. Grab the vial, again flipping completely upside down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You'll always notice I slow down at the end just to make sure that I don't go over. Cap the bottle back up, put that back away. Again, put the cap on it, and just give it a couple of twists. And we'll set that one aside as well. Now we'll flip this around, and I'm going to do the nitrate test first instead of the nitrites because it takes longer. So, part 1, nitrate, as you can see. Now this is to add 10 drops. Take the cap off, flip it upside down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Put the cap back on. And you're going to turn around and flip this a couple more times like you did the rest of them, just to make sure it's well mixed. All right. Now part 2, before I take that cap back off, if you look at part 2 and you read it, it'll tell you in the book, shake for 30 seconds. So shake it up for 30 seconds. And what this does is it mixes the chemicals that are currently inside of the bottle to make sure you get the most accurate reading as possible. Pull the cap back off. Being very careful not to spill any of this stuff. And again, it's 10 drops. So flip the bottle over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10. All right. Put the cap back on the bottle and on the vial. Now, for the second part of the nitrate test, you have to shake the vial itself for about a minute. That's why I said this one part takes a little bit longer. So I'm going to start shaking it now, and we should be able to fast forward through this here pretty quickly. Okay. So there's the nitrate part of it. Now the last one's the nitrites, and this is why I usually save this for last. This one's pretty quick. Again, remove the bottle, pull off the cap of your vial, and as you can see, this one's pretty quick. It's just a simple 5 drops. So once again, over the top of the vial, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Recap your bottle. Put your cap on your vial. And just a couple quick just twists. Now, normally you have to wait 5 minutes for this to have the most absolute accurate readings. What I'm going to show you is the ones that we did prior. And as you can see, my pH is a little bit higher. It usually runs about 7.5 to 7.8, which I already knew that. And I'm not going to do the hard pH test because I know pretty much where it's at. And you're gonna have your ammonia test, which is here. Which you can see I'm at just between 0.25 and 0.50. And this is still a relatively newer tank that this came from. So we're going to do the nitrate, since we did that. And I'll pull this over here so you can see. And the nitrates in this tank are somewhere between 20 and 40. They're not quite that red. So I should probably do a water change on that. And for the nitrites, even though it hasn't quite sit for that long, I'm going to go ahead and pull this up, and you can see there's 0 parts per million for nitrites. And I already knew that there isn't. Now, the only thing that can cause ammonia is possibly water or putting chemicals into your tank, along with just straight fish poo and waste and stuff like that, or if a creature may have passed away, or a fish rather, not a creature, but a fish that may have passed away that you're unaware of, or adding new fish. It just so happens that that's from the 60-gallon, and if you watch the previous video, you'll see that Angel is swimming around in the 60-gallon now. We just added him about a day before this video. So we added a new fish, which is partially the reason that the ammonia went up. I already know that. That's why I'm not concerned with it. Like I said, it's about 0.25 parts per million. Maybe a little bit more. It's because there's a new fish. The beneficial bacteria is going to build up to definitely take over that. You know, this is why I say add fish slowly. If you haven't watched that video, please do, regarding setup, the 60-gallon setup, and kind of what I went through with that. But you really want to make sure you add fish slowly. And this is the reason, because every time you do add fish, your ammonia level will go up. It is an unbalanced load in your tank. It gets used to having a certain load. When you add something new, it kind of shifts the load. So I'm going to see the ammonia go up. Nitrates are going to be about, I don't know, 5 to 40, depending on how often I decide to change the water. The more plants you have in there, obviously the less often you'll need to change the water. But I have, as you've seen, quite a few live plants in there. So it's, like I said, between probably 20 and 40. It's about 30 right now. I'll more than likely do a water change this weekend, which will be a couple days from when you see this video, because I'm not too concerned with it. This is just a pretty quick rundown of the standardized test. I do prefer the API test kit versus the strips, and you'll have people that are vice versa. If you're newer to the hobby, I recommend the API master kit just because it is a more detailed range. The test strips are great. They work in a pinch, and they do have a relatively good range. However, I don't feel they're as accurate as this is. And if they sit for too long, or if they're not used, or they're on a shelf, they do have an expiration date, so you might get a faulty reading. This stuff is usually pretty good for a while because it's chemicals. It's not just something that would sit on a swab and then dry out and lose its potential strength. So I do prefer to use this over the test strips, although in a pinch the test strips do work if you're having issues with your tank. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the test. Alright, so you got to see how the test was done and some of my personal preferences and why I feel the way that I feel. There's nothing wrong with using test strips versus using a master kit. It's just a personal preference of mine. And that's what's great about the hobby, is everybody can go off of their own preference and choose their own decisions based off of what they like. I like it because it's more accurate for me, and if something does go wrong with one of my tanks, I want to know exactly what I'm dealing with and what parameters I'm at, which I feel is more accurate with the master kit versus the strips. So I know exactly how to deal with this situation. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, please make sure you like and subscribe. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. If you haven't checked them out already, please make sure you check out this video, which is the 60-gallon setup, or check this one out, which is breeding for profit tank. As always, happy fish keeping.